Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. And we're here joined by one of my best friends in the electrical business. His name is Ken Burns. Ken, say hi to our team. How you doing there?
I'm doing good. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing great, Ken. My heart is always warmed because every time we talk, I'm always just seeing you grow level by level. Every time we see somebody get better and better all the time. It's just like I always say to people, I'm not getting older, I'm getting better. It sounds like you're doing the
Yeah,
same thing, Ken.
yeah. Honestly, I owe a lot of that to you. But yeah, I feel like I've been growing every single day. I learned something new.
Well, Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background a little bit first, and then we'll get into the three keys to electrical service sales success that Ken's going to help us with at the end of this program. Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you got started with this and how you got to where you're at right now?
Yeah, not a problem, Joe. Thanks for giving me that opportunity. So I started doing electrical when I was a junior in high school. I went to a vocational school for about 2 years, my junior and senior year, and then I got hired on with a commercial company that put me through an apprenticeship program for about 4 years. And I left there, went to go work for another commercial company, and that's where I really learned majority of the electrical experiences I've had was in the industrial, commercial, working in hospitals and
Hmm.
schools, and it was a company that really only did prevailing wage work. So I got tired of getting laid off so much when they didn't have the work. So I was like, you know what, I kind of hated working there because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to switch over and jump into residential because I'm doing it with friends that I used to work with. I kind of grown to love it, and I worked for ADT for about 5 years learning how to fish walls and run wires inside commercial. The best way to run it from the first floor to second floor. It was actually a great
Hmm.
experience for me, and then I really dove down. I left there and got into residential, and that is where I got into residential electrical, and I've been doing that for about 8 years now. So a total of 20 years in the electrical industry. And I I just like meeting with new people every single day and helping them solve problems. It's pretty great.
But it brings up a point. Like the commercial and industrial and all that kind of stuff is more of a parts business. More like here's your job. Go do go. It's kind of isolation, right? It's like
Yeah.
just go play with the materials and parts. The residential is definitely more. It's 50-50. More people. I'd say 50% people, 50% parts and work. You still got to know your stuff, and I'll bet that has served you well with the confidence when you're in a home. Like I know what we need to do here. Like because you've seen so many things in your commercial industrial background. How have those two things come together, the people and also the technical part of the trade for you?
I'll tell you what, I did love doing the commercial aspect. I loved, the pipe bending and running wires, and the digging wasn't my favorite part, working outside a lot. But I will say that I always thought, and everybody I worked with told me that residential electricians really don't know what they're doing. They're not real electricians. And there was kind of a joke we had until I found out that it's actually kind of harder than to doing commercial, because there's a lot of stuff you got to figure out what someone else did. The old knob and tube wiring, you don't know that stuff
Hmm.
when you're in a commercial electrician. You're never even taught it.
In the
So
commercial space, you got a lot more room for one
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and
I
they've
mean,
accommodated for access to electrical. Whereas in the home, it's like, no, we're going to bury all this stuff. We're gonna do it wrong and bury it.
Joe, let's put it this way: we use PVC, 3/4 inch PVC as fishes in commercial space. You can't do that in a residential house. You know what I mean? So fishing a ceiling is just throwing a wire across the drop ceiling. It's much easier. It's a little
Yeah.
bit more physically strenuous, but mentally, I think residential takes the cake.
Yeah, you got to be more. I think the creativity, right?
Yeah,
The find creative solutions that are not like the engineering isn't done by somebody else. It's done by you, the technique. You become
exactly.
half engineer, half electrician, and then well, maybe I should say 30% electrician, 33% engineer, and 33% the people person too. Make sure all
That's what I
those
was
things
going
are
to
being
say
done.
next. Is like you don't ever deal with the customers in commercial and residential. That's 80% of your job is to make sure that customer is happy and they understand what's going on.
Well, that leads us right into our next segment, Ken, which is so it sounds like you have a wealth of knowledge, and if any electricians would want to know about electrical solutions that maybe they're this maybe above their pay grade, I'm sure Ken sounds like he could help you even with that alone. So definitely, he's a wealth. That's one thing I've noticed about Ken. He's a wealth of information, but he's approachable too. He's not some of these engineers you can't approach him because they don't know how to speak to us. But Ken sounds like he's right there with us on that. Ken, let's go over the three keys to electrical service sales success. Obviously, you probably, if I told you 10 years ago you'd be having a meeting like today, you'd say, "No way, Joe. There's no way
If
I'd
you
be
told
doing this,
me,
right?"
if you told me 3 years ago I was having a meeting like this today, I would tell you you're crazy. Um, yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I think the first thing is building a rapport with the customer,
So
Joe.
number one is building a rapport with the customer. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that. So
Yeah,
when you go in the house, your first goal is to say, let's create that relationship between me and the client. And then let's not bring the company in on this right now. The company will have a chance to come in on this. We're not that we're ashamed of our company, but the primary relationship between you and the customer needs to be established first. Go ahead and expand more on that, Ken, if you don't mind.
yeah. I mean, when you go into a customer's house, you can go in there and say, this is the price, this is how much it costs, this is what we do. And a lot of electricians do that. But when I go into a house, I like to touch on, you know, how many kids do you have? Do you have grandkids? Are you married? How long have you lived in this house? Do you plan on moving? Just basically making them feel comfortable with me. So to the point where I even sometimes I even forget what I came there for because I'm so immersed in talking about my twins. I have twins at home. They're 3.5 years old. Talking about their kids. Next thing you know, I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. What is exactly what I'm here for? Let's get back on task. And I get,
Let's,
a lot of times I get like a chuckle out of the customer. And I like that because, you might turn someone that's really having a bad day because they can't figure out what's wrong with their electrical system. And then I come in and I make them feel better before I even start looking at it. So
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's like those to me. Those are the best calls where you're saying about 20 minutes into it or even half an hour. You're like, oh my goodness, we got to get to the electrical part.
yeah,
We never even talked about that yet. What's going on now today here, right?
yeah.
That to me that
Don't
is
tell
a
my
good way.
boss that.
Well, you know what? I'm sure he would. To me, I'd say your boss would be happy to invest in the clients because that's an investment that returns thousands and thousands of times.
Oh yeah,
You've seen
he
that,
he
right?
is definitely he definitely understands what I do and he agrees with it 100%.
What's the company you're working with, guys? Do you mind
Dream
bring that up?
Team. Yeah, I
Dream
work for Dream Team in Pennsylvania.
in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? Near
Yep.
Philly, that area. And Gareth Kelly, right? Is his name?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Great guy there and a great company and everything. They put so much into the training. They invest so much into the training and invest so much into their clients that I think a meeting like this to show clients, even if they see it public, we don't got to be ashamed of how we produce solutions for them. I think it's something we can talk about. I think all the clients would be fascinated. I think everybody would be. Tell us a little bit about number one. So that relationship and magic moments about that. Tell us a little bit about the magic moments you create. Do you guys ever work with that still, or how's that working for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a so I actually had one yesterday. So a customer was telling me that her son, she's moving away. So she's selling her house and she's moving to where her son is going to college because she wants to be she wants to be there for him. And as soon as she told me, I was like, your son is very, very lucky to have you. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I can't tell you too many parents that would say they're moving away to spend time with to make sure their son has everything they need." He's uh he's getting ready to I think he's getting ready to go into his sophomore year. So freshman year was really tough for him because it was really far traveling. So she's actually they're moving the whole family out to go to school where he goes to school. And I thought that was very nice. I like to bring that up.
That is, it's the effort. Praising the effort that people make is such a great thing, and you can see
Yeah.
that she's probably like shocked that electrician, who's Mr. Technical Wizard, would have the people
Take
presence to say that, and that's really interesting.
Yeah, just take an interest in their life. I mean, that really makes people feel that much better.
Yeah, and just I think we can learn from this. I think even in even the biggest businesses in the world start by getting to know the other side, other people to kind of bring them into the family first before you start talking about money and all that part of it.
Yeah.
Because when you show that which is the second part of it, right? Show that you care and that
Yep.
that you're going to be honest. Like if it was your family, you'd say, we got to be honest with you about this electrical system, which is step number two, you said before
Yeah.
to me, which is to be honest about issues that you're seeing now and also ones that they're probably going to see later because based on your vast experience. Ken, tell us a little bit about that, about how you, because a lot of electricians stand in the way of the opportunity. Sounds like you have released yourself to be honest with clients. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I think the number one, like the number two thing is to obviously be honest with the customer, and to the point where if they don't need a new panel today, or they don't need to necessarily replace their service cable today, you tell them, hey, listen, your panel's in great shape. The service cable it's probably going to need to be done within the next 2 or 3 years, but that's not something you need to worry about today. This over here is something that needs to be taken care of today. So save yourself some money, wait until next year to get next year or the year after to get the service cable done, and let's take care of this. And a lot of times the customers will end up going with the top option because I'm being honest. I'm not trying to force it down their throat. I'm just telling them, listen, you have a couple years left, but we can do it today.
Yeah, so that's the honest thing. We could do it two ways. We can, you need this in a couple of years, or maybe in 5 years on the panel, and a couple of years on the cable. But we can right now. We need this fixture, or this setup over here. Got to get changed over here in that utility box or whatever we have here. That's got to get done now because that's the cause of the problem here. And I think that's sort of like, you know what, Ken, you're the kind of like having that relationship. What impact does that relationship have on that honesty? It would be difficult to have that kind of level of honesty if you didn't have that relationship you built first. How are those two intertwined together?
So a lot of people, when I come in their house, especially if it's like a VIP inspection, they're not looking to spend anything. So if you're going in there and saying, hey, listen, I can save you money by not doing this right away, it almost like flips it in reverse where they're like, well, no, I want to do that because you're not trying to sell it to me. You're you're trying to tell me I can do it, but I don't necessarily need to today. I mean, a lot of times, Joe, I found that it has actually worked at the exact opposite as you would think. They people actually, because you built that rapport with them in the beginning, and they see that you're there for them. And then when you tell them, hey, listen, let's save you some money. Let's not do this today. Let's take care of this main problem right here. And I don't always do that. It's just if there really is something that looks like it could be done in 5 years, some guys might not even bring it up. But I'm going to bring it up and say, hey, listen, this is something you might want to save for in 5 years, or you
Let's
could
put it this
take
way.
care of it today.
Let's put it this way, Ken. It's like if you had that kind of 20-minute conversation where you're talking about our family and the Eagles or
Hmm.
Flyers or things like that, and just the things they do for fun. What do you guys do in the summer? Are you guys let's get a good time on the 4th of July or whatever. You kind of have that rapport, like you said. And you're just talking about their job, their family, the hobbies, school, kids, and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, oh, well, let me tell you what's going on. Let me take a look at this thing now. And look at it. It's like, Joe, I got to tell you something. To be honest, I don't like what I'm seeing. This problem is really bad, but other problems too are going to happen. But right now, you can wait on those for a couple of years. So you're honest part of it there. Here's the thing about it. I feel what element, the element of scarcity, that you create this relationship and you're honest about people, and they're like, man, if this guy leaves, I'm not sure what I'm going to get the next time from anybody. But I better take advantage of it. Does that make sense? You think the
Yeah.
element of scarcity might play on that, to where it's I like this guy. He's right. I see these problems are correct. He's not lying to me. He's not trying to force me into it. What emerges in this moment I call is, I'm not sure how you put this, but this is the kind of guy I want to do business with syndrome, where,
Yeah.
where it's like, you know what, as long as you're here, Ken, as long as you're here, why don't you just take care of this for me? Does this kind of sound like that? Tell me what it sounds like, and when people kind of arrive at that conclusion, or when they ask or invite you to do this work, because that's what's happening, right? They're inviting you to do the work, Ken.
Yeah, they're inviting me to do the work. I'll tell you what, there's been times where I had a guy tell me he's getting 3 quotes on the first quote he's had, and at the end of the day, he uh he said to me, he goes, "Yeah, I'm not getting any more quotes. Let's just get this done today." And I was like, "Well, I thought you wanted to get these quotes done." He's like, "Well, you made it very clear what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, and I really do appreciate the honesty. I don't think I would have ever gotten that from anyone else. So I want to make sure you're the guy doing my work."
Wow, that's high praise, right? I
Yeah.
mean, to me, I don't know about you feel, but if that was me, I'd be like, feel like I'm walking on air. Right now, I got a chill down my spine when you just said that. Of course, every show I do, I get a chill down my spine because so many people have so much great things to say. But I kind of feel like you'd be walking on air why at the rest of that call. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been times, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I just hit a home run. Um, when people come back to me and say that to me, and we get it done, it feels great. And there's a lot of times where, I'll get customers to say they don't have the money, and you never assume what's another customer's "I don't have the money" means, because they have no idea how much your solution is. They have no, and you have no idea what their "I don't have money" means. So I gave somebody the top option, the best top option I could possibly give this customer. And she kept saying, I don't have any money. And I'm like, that's fine. So I spent a lot of time, probably good 45 minutes on my bottom 5 options. And as soon as I read the top option, she goes, I want the top option. I was like, wait a minute. What about the rest of these options? And she's like, no, I want this option. I'm like, but I just did all this work on these bottom options. You're going to take my top option? And yeah, I want your top option. I was not mad. I kind of was a little mad. Like, I just spent 45 minutes on all these
I was trying to
because I
really
did
find
not
something
think
that was trying to find something affordable, and it turns out you did have the money, didn't you? Ah, I get
yeah.
it now.
Well,
That's
but you
funny.
never know. Like, I just wanted to bring this on this podcast and say that, because shared it with my guys, and you
Mhm.
never assume your "I don't have any money" is the same as the customers, because
Which
they
is
might be
which is why
thinking,
I'm wearing this shirt, Ken. That's why
assume
exactly why
nothing.
I'm wearing
Look
this
at
shirt.
that.
How about if I send you one of these shirts, Ken? Would you like that for the
That I would
podcast?
love it. I would wear
What,
it at work.
what's your size? I'll send it.
I'm
Extra
an
large?
extra large.
I'll get
Don't tell anybody else.
it's coming. It's in the mail. Don't worry. Okay, I'll get
I
send it to you.
appreciate it.
You'll get home with those today. That's right. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's like the relationship, and then to me also it's like I would say there's two kinds of electricians. Some people are just exhausted at the end of the day, but when you have this kind of a relationship, I would say the relationship and the honesty and having that kind of situation. To me, some days I have more energy at the end of the day than I did starting
Builds
the
you
day.
up.
Does
It
that make
builds you
sense
up,
there?
Joe. Sometimes it just builds you up. All the positivity you get from the customers, it just makes you have a great day. You
Yeah, I
feel
think
better.
that I think when we are kind of get negative or depressed or exhausted, I think sometimes we're putting it too much on ourselves and not involving the customer enough. What would you feel about that if I said that?
That's actually a really good question, because last, I guess, June, I was I was having a tough month. I had some stuff going on with my house renovations and stuff, and I kind of took it to work with me. And I sat down and had a conversation with both my bosses. I had really bad 2 weeks, really bad. Had a conversation with both my bosses. We talked about it, and basically they made me understand that it was my attitude, and my mentality is what was hurting me in the field. So after having a conversation with them, it was a Thursday. Friday, I sold, like, I don't know, like $6,000, $7,000, and then, which is still good. And then I took a call on a Saturday, and Joe, I don't really work Saturdays unless a customer requests it. But I
Hmm.
took an emergency call that we had really bad storms here, and I sold a $16,000 job. And
Hmm.
then from the rest of that month, it was the following week was the next month, and all of July I sold 161,000. I
Wow.
hit it. I, I just It's how your mental state is everything. Because if you're not in a good headspace, how can you show the customer that you have your everything in on their job, you know?
I really like that, Ken. It is. It's I would say for every person who loses their job because they're not a good electrician, there's 8 people who lose their job because their headspace is in the wrong space and they're focused too much on other things than they're focused on the customer and the client and the solutions like they should be on each opportunity. Something else that stands out away from us takes us away from that focus. What do you feel about that?
Positivity goes a long way
It really
in
does.
all aspects of life.
It really does, and I'm feeling it right now from you. It's radiating through my Zoom screen right now. But Ken, one last thing. The third thing you said is assisting clients to find the right solution. So you're honest about the problems. You're honest about what we need now, what we need later. Here's all the options. We do them all together. We can do it that way, or we just do them do them one at a time and come back over a period of time and do them. Or you say finally it's like, well, let me help you find the one that's right for you. And in the case of that woman, she found that the premium one, even though
Yeah.
you're focused on the economy one, she buys the premium one and kind of like, what? I just worked on 45 minutes on to find something affordable and you did that. But bottom line is that I think we're all happy when people find the right solution, and whether it's the premium, mid-range, or economy solution. Tell us about
Yeah.
that, helping people through it, because sometimes people want to kind of stop or they get stuck there, and you kind of help unstick them. Tell me about that.
Well, I've actually have a lot of times where customers will like, okay, after you give them the options, and you're like,
Hmm.
"Wh-
Yeah. Okay. I
which
get it.
what?
Okay.
Okay,
That looks good then.
uh, so what should we do here?" And
uh,
they go, "Oh well, I want to talk to my wife." I said, "Oh yeah, I completely understand now." When I got here this morning, what was it that you said you wanted to get done? Oh, I wanted to get this done today. Oh, you wanted to get this done today. All right. So which of these options do you think better suits you and your family?
mhm.
Well, that middle option. I honestly, I just think helping them. You're not forcing anything on them. You're
Yeah,
just
you just
asking
kind
them
of
questions. You're helping them think,
like a tour guide of
essentially.
the options, right? Like
Yeah,
which
that's it. You're
I like.
helping them think.
You
They
know, I
want to
like,
think
and
about
I
it.
like that first way of looking at it. Like when they get stuck, instead of trying to use some technique or like, oh, Joe, which is your favorite one? Which one stands out as your favorite type of thing? To me, that's a great way of doing it because, like, hey, what would you rate? I always another way of doing it is like, hey, if you had to rate your favorite one on a scale 1 to 5, which would be more of the 5, which would be more of the one,
That's a good one.
type of thing there too. So if you were giving it a rating system, which would be the one your favorite right now? Tell me your favorite. Forget the price, and I'll see what I could do about that. And then, yeah, probably the top one. Well, what do you like the top one for? What about the economy one? No, I don't like the economy. I want to get it done right. All that kind of thing. I think that's it. We're just kind of helping people to get it to a conclusion. Because I don't know, Ken, and no matter, you've always learned that even in the commercial industrial kind of comes full circle, that the job doesn't get done, you're not a really good electrician. Does that
Right.
does that make sense? Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think the number one thing is like when someone says, they have to think about it. Yeah, let them think about it. Help them think about it. If they want to sleep on it, go ahead. I'll be in my car for 10 minutes, a half hour, take a nap. I'll be back in. Not quite,
Nice.
but no, it's just I think helping them pick the best thing that suits them. And so and if they show concerns about financing or money, hey, listen, I understand your concerns. Is there anything on here you think we can get done today and we can take care of the rest later? Never walk away with nothing because they called you out there for a reason, not to just say hi to you. You're out there
Yeah.
to do a job. At the very minimum, you should be doing what you got called out for. And that's how I like to take every job.
Well, Ken, they always say a great podcast starts on time, which ours did, but it also ends on time, which ours is going a little bit over, but that's okay. You know
Ah,
what? Because it's rare, Ken, to find a qualified, journeyman, somebody who knows what they're doing from a technical standpoint. And I'm similar to you. When I get into something like this, I'm a kind of a technical geek when it comes to that part of it there. But I'm also learned how that the value of the relationship, and certainly, Ken, my relationship with you I will treasure forever. I know that as long as I live, I will treasure that for sure.
yeah, man, I really appreciate it. You've helped me through a lot here, so it's
Well,
pretty awesome.
Ken, it's a labor of love, and definitely, it always feels good to see somebody who takes. Ever heard the new term they call it ask whole? You ever heard that one?
No,
So somebody who asks you a question but doesn't follow your advice. You're
I'm
the
an
op- you're the
asshole.
you're the opposite of that, Ken. You're the kind of guy who calls me and I give you advice, you take it, and it sounds like your boss gave you that advice. You got back on track there, and you're coachable, and that's really it's a pleasure to help people who want to help themselves. Right, that's the part of it. And Ken, you've done
Yeah,
nothing but always do that. I appreciate. Thanks for spending some time with us today. And I know you're going to help thousands of electricians by listening to this podcast. And I really appreciate you being on with me today.
I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great one. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Goodbye.